Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Keith and I am sure glad that you stopped by today, y'all. Typically, we'd be on the deck right now, but it is raining out here, y'all. It's a rainy, dreary day, so we're changing locations today. But I'm excited, super excited about today's episode of From the Deck, because in today's episode, we're going to continue on this conversation that we've been having. Last few episodes, we talked about the quality of your grill, and regardless of your quality, to challenge you a little bit to get the most out of your grill, to grow in your grilling game. But that begs the question now, Keith, what do you mean by grilling game? I'm glad you asked, because in today's video, I'm going to break down the 3 core skills that I believe make up a sound and established grilling game. Number 1 is going to be fire management and control. Number 2 is going to be seasoning and flavor mastery. And number 3 is going to be grill instincts and timing. So if you are new to grilling or you're a seasoned veteran and you want to level up your game and take it to the next level, let's get into it. First up, we need to talk about fire management and fire control. Now let's define these two, because I think they are different. Fire management to me is your understanding of how fire moves, how it behaves, how to control it, and it's your understanding of how heat moves, heat behaves. So here I'd expect you to understand heat transfer, right? You know, conduction, convection, radiant heat transfer. You understand the differences from clean smoke and dirty smoke. You understand how to estimate fuel amount, right, for your specific grill. So it's an understanding of all that. That's fire management. You understand those concepts. When we get into fire control, we go from now understanding to application. It's not good enough just to understand how all this stuff works. You now need to implement it on your specific grill. And I'll give you a good example of this. If you watch the channel, you know that I've spent hundreds of hours on my Weber. My Weber grill has been with me the longest, over 20 years now. And I remember after logging a lot of time on my Weber, getting very comfortable and confident on my Weber, I got my char griller smoking champ. And now I'm trying to transition and have similar success on this barrel offset grill. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, some of those early cooks on the char griller, it wasn't good. I say it wasn't good. The food was alright, you know what I mean? It wasn't good, it wasn't great, it was alright. And I was getting frustrated. And looking back, the reason why I was getting frustrated, because I was trying to apply fire control strategies that worked on my Weber kettle to my barrel grill, to my offset grill, thinking I was getting similar results. And it doesn't work like that. Although we understand fire management, although I understand fire management, I got a pretty good grasp on it. It gets implemented differently on different types of grills. There are fire control laws for a kettle grill. Then when you transition to a barrel grill, there's some different fire control laws. The overarching concept is the same, but how it gets implemented is differently. Offset grills are different. Fire control is going to be a little bit different over there. And then we got to talk about Kamado grills, right? That ceramic material they're made out of, they hold heat very well. But when you if you overshoot temperature and trying to fight that back down or bring it up, they're a little bit slower to respond. Does that make sense? So it's knowing how to implement your understanding of fire management on different types of grills. And if this makes sense, if you all agree with me, those of you who have multiple grills, let me know down in the comments below. Because some people who have maybe one grill might not get this. But if you have multiple grills and you agree with what I'm saying or disagree, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you on that. So yeah, grow in your area of fire management, and don't forget about fire control and how those complement one another. They're not the same, right? So if you're trying to level up, go to a different grill, know that each grill is going to be different based upon the material it's made out of, based upon its design shape, based upon how it drafts. And if you want to level up your game, you have to approach it like that so you can master the different types of grills. So regardless of what you're grilling on, just know that each grill type is going to be a little bit different when it comes to fire control. And if you want to have success regardless of the grill you're cooking on, remember to come at it from that angle. Understand the principles, but then ask yourself, how do I implement and apply what I know on this specific grill? And when you start asking that question, that's when you're going to level up in fire control and fire management. Do me a huge favor, y'all. If you're getting anything at all out of today's video, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. So the next skill we need to talk about is seasoning and flavor mastery. And what I mean by this one is that kind of when we're first starting off grilling, seasoning is, hey, let me just sprinkle on a bunch of this stuff, get an all-purpose rub, get a seasoning out the store that people talk about. Let me just sprinkle this on, rub it on, cross my fingers and hope for the best and just let it take care of itself. That's when you're early on in developing your skills. But over time, you'll get to a point that you're more intentional about your seasoning. Like where I am right now in my game is that I will pair my seasoning to a specific technique that I'm using, right? If I want to grill chicken direct, there's some seasonings that I don't want to use maybe for that session. Or if I use them, I'm going to apply them later on in the cook because they don't hold up well to high heat. Does that make sense? But I'm able to do that now because my depth of knowledge has grown in this area, right? If I'm going direct heat, I'm not loading this up with a bunch of sugar. If I'm going direct heat, I'm not putting a bunch of herbs and all that stuff over direct heat because I know it's going to burn. I can still use it, but I need to use it later on in the cook so I don't burn these seasonings and get bitter taste. Does that make sense? Also here, one of my biggest breakthroughs when it came to this skill area is understanding the power of salt and, brining, dry brining, wet brining, and how you really have to give salt time to work. And when I started to give salt its time to work, and I wasn't trying to put on these other seasonings that kind of worked against the salt being able to penetrate into the meat, my depth of flavor of my food improved significantly. So my point is, as we go through these areas, sometimes it's just small adjustments that can take the flavor of your food from average to good to great. So as you work on seasoning and flavor, I encourage you to be more intentional, to think more about what you're applying to your food, to think more about how does this impact the flavor that you're after? How does this seasoning complement the technique and the wood that you're using, right? If you're using lump charcoal, briquettes, if you're using hickory wood, apple, try to pair the seasoning up to go with that so that you have seasonings that complement what it is you're doing, work in harmony with the flavor profile you're trying to achieve and not go against it. Now, let's get into our next area. And I think by far, this is probably one of the most overlooked areas when it comes to grilling. And it's going to be grill instincts and timing, And what this looks like is that maybe a couple months ago, I had someone reach out to me and they said, hey, Keith, I cooked some ribs and they just weren't up to par. I cooked them. And when I was cooking them, I did an internet search to see what's the safe to eat temperature for pork. And I saw it was 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So I was cooking my pork ribs and I pulled them at 145 degrees Fahrenheit and I served them. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, because again, no shade. This is just an opportunity for all of us to learn, because before you pull any cut of meat, you need to be able to read whether or not that meat is done. And to be done is more than just internal temperature. What do you see? Before you pull ribs, what do you see? What's the standard you're trying to hit? You should have flex in that slab. At 145 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to tell you, man, on a slab of ribs, you probably not going to see a whole lot of flex. You understand what I'm saying? You should be looking for flex in the slab. You should be looking for bone twists. You should be looking for pullback on the bone. You should be looking for a nice bark and crust to form. That's instincts. That's awareness. If you're just cooking by the clock, that's not instincts. Sometimes I think what I love about grilling is that it's the perfect balance between science and art, right? But some of us are a little bit too mechanical. We're a bit too logical. We want step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And I think recipes kind of train us to do that, right? Do. And some of us will go off and follow a recipe. Even we're going off in a direction that really doesn't make any grill instinct sense, right? They did this, they did this, they did this. Well, I hear the sizzle. I think I might have a flare up. I probably should go in here and flip right now, but I'm not, because the recipe said, wait, flip every 5 to 10 minutes. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to trust your instincts. You have to build up your instincts and begin to trust yourself. And there's one exercise you can do if you're struggling with this, is what I call the one temp check. Now, we should be temping all of our proteins, right? All of our foods to make sure they're safe to eat. But next time you're on the grill, I want you to try this out if you struggle with grill instincts. If you're grilling something, I want you to only get one temp check. And you can only temp that protein when you have read this grill, when you have looked at that protein and you think it's done and you think it's ready to come off. Then you get your temperature gauge out, your instant read thermometer, you temp it, make sure it's safe to eat, make sure it's your desired temp, then you pull it and do what you need to do. Why do you do that? Because it's training you to develop your awareness and not to just trust gadgets. It's training you to know what done looks like, right? It's training you to know that you have got to trust yourself. You have got to build up your awareness. And I think one time for me, this all clicked when it began to resonate as I was doing a direct grilling session years ago. And I was really locked in, man. I was in the zone, right? I'm flowing with my grill, seeing my grill, and I'm right there with it. And I heard the flare up with my grill being closed. And I could hear the sizzle get intense. I could see how that impacted my smoke. My smoke got more intense. And I could see it, and I know I needed to go in and handle that and nip that flare up in the bud before it even happened. That's because I was tuned in. That's because my grill awareness was growing. My grill instincts was growing. If I was just simply following somebody's video and their technique and asking, hey, how often do I flip? Flip every 3 minutes, flip every 5 minutes. I would have failed that day. I would have burnt up all that food because that grill knows no clock. It doesn't know a timer. That fire is trying to consume what's on this grill, and it's my job to control it. Back to fire management and fire control, right? That's my job. That's my responsibility. And one key to do that is you got to be tuned in. You got to be locked in, and you need to be intentional about developing your grill instincts and timing. All right, y'all. If you lock in on those 3 skills and practice those 3 skills we talked about today, what were they? Fire management and control. That's right. Seasoning and flavor mastery. What was that third one? Come on now. Grill instincts and timing. Focus on those. Be intentional about those. And I'm telling you, you'll see your grilling game grow, and in turn, the flavor of your food grow from bad to average to good to great. But we're all in different places in our grilling game, our grilling journey. For me, I've been on this grill for over 30 years now, and grilling for my family the majority of that time, right? And there is a level beyond great, and that's what I'm chasing right now. You know what I mean? So even after all this time, I'm trying to still level up my game. Not that I'm looking to my left and my right competing with anybody, but I want to get the most out of my God-given talent and abilities. That's what I'm after. And what that looks like to me is that after serving my kid leg quarter, and ribs, and they're like, Dad is good, Dad is good. When they pop their head up like, Dad, this hit a little different. In fact, Dad, I think this is the best. Out of all of them, Daddy, this is the best. That's an indication that I'm growing. My wife and her mom told me the other day, I made some salmon on the grill. And they said, Keith, no joke, this is the best salmon we've ever had. And that's what I'm chasing, y'all. I don't want to just be average. I don't want my food just to be good, to be great. I want my food to be the best you've ever had. Not that I'm competing against anybody, but I am getting the most out of my God-given potential and abilities on this grill. And I'm producing the best flavor, the best culinary taste experience you've ever had. That's what drives me. And just know after 30 plus years, I'm still growing. I'm still getting better. Because it's one thing to make it once. And that's probably another episode. But to hit it over and over again. It's one thing to hit it once, but it's another level in your game to be consistent and hit that standard over and over again. So I encourage you, if you gotten kind of complacent in your grilling game, if you just going through the motions, work on those 3 skills and set the bar higher and higher. And don't just settle for what your food tastes like today. It may be good. It may be great. But can somebody really taste your ribs, your brisket, your pork, pulled pork, whatever, and be like, yo, this is the best I've ever had? If not, you still got some work to do. I love y'all and appreciate y'all, man. Until next time, peace.